Today we're going to do something really fun. It's an acrylic painting, and this is my demo that I practiced on. We're going to see if we can get close to that, with our video. Now we're using some paint, and we're going to be using the green and the blue, the yellow and the red, and the white acrylic paint. We're also going to use some interesting materials that are not necessarily associated with acrylics. We're going to be using string, and I've already pre-cut string for you. And we're going to be using soap, which is the same kind of soap that you use on your dishes. We're going to be using our palette knife, and we're going to be making our painting on our canvas. So we will also need something to keep any drips of paint off of the table, and so I have some foil. If you are at home and you're making this, then it's okay to use any kind of parchment paper or plastic or anything like that to protect your table so that your parents aren't unhappy with us. And you'll also want to have, in this case, just a paper bowl that is disposable. And the last thing is one of these sticks to do stirring with. So I'm going to try to place this like so that you can see my canvas and you can see what I'm doing in the bowl. Okay, so to start, what we're going to do is cover our canvas with white. And so we're going to take our titanium white. Now, we're not going to put it directly on the canvas. We're going to give a good shake. I've already used some white in here, so you'll probably do just fine. You're not going to run out like I am. So you're going to put about this much titanium white into your bowl, and you can see that it's about the same amount squeezed as the size of your lid. So kind of try to think about it that way. You don't want to use too much because we're going to be doing other projects, and we don't want to run out of the white, but you don't want to not have enough either. And then if you're at home, you can use a clear soap. If you're at school, Ms. Thomas is going to come around and squeeze about, it's going to be about 2/3 to 1/3, or maybe 3/4 to 1/4 ratio of soap. And the soap is acting as a surfactant. It's going to thin our white paint so that it kind of actually makes a little bit more paint and lets us get the effect that we're hoping for. So I'm just using my little tongue depressor, I guess. And I'm stirring that all in so that the soap is stirred into the paint. And then I'm just going to tip this up and pour it out onto my canvas. Try to use every last block. Okay. All right. So now I'm just going to take that and wipe off as much as I can off of my wooden stick. And then I'm just going to put that back in the bowl. And now I'm going to be using a palette knife. And the goal is just to use the palette knife to evenly spread this white paint with a little bit of soap in it all over my canvas. I'm going to try to do that and cover the entire canvas, but I also don't want to have too much, if any, slop on the outside. If a little bit drips off onto your foil, then that's okay. So depending on the shape of your palette knife, some of you might have a palette knife that looks like this. Some of you might have a palette knife that looks like this. And it doesn't really matter. You just kind of get used to what you have. But the idea is that you're going to use the edge, tip the edge down, and then kind of push that paint around, and maybe even use the flat part of the palette knife to help smooth that white paint all over your canvas. It's almost like you're icing a cake. And we're just gonna bring it to the outside. If anything, I'm almost a little bit shy. Could have had just a tiny bit more white paint in there, but it is okay. And so you end up with just a smooth surface that has that white paint all over it, okay? So I'm just gonna take my paper towel and wipe this off like so. Voila. Now what I'm gonna do is the fun part. So I'm going to rotate this around so that hopefully you can see it. And I'm going to make what is going to be kind of my abstract leaves. And I'm going to use 3 colors. So I'm going to give myself a blob of blue, like so. I'm going to give myself a blob of green next to the blue, not on top of it, but next to it. And these are about the same size as the top of your bottles. And then beside that, I'm going to put yellow. Now, I picked these colors purposefully because leaves are green and yellow and blue make green. But instead of having our leaves just be solid green, incorporating the blue and the yellow gives it a lot of dimension and it makes it beautiful. At this point, you're going to want to raise your hand and ask Miss Thomas to come around, and she's going to put a couple little drops of soap onto each of these paint colors. It's going to thin and extend the paint. Once she does that, then you can take your wooden stick, go ahead and wipe it off on your paper towel, and then go ahead and stir. Now, guys, try to stir by pushing the paint and the soap together in and on top of it. It's almost like you're lifting from the outside and making the paint and the soap kind of combine on top of each other. If you just like swirl like this, it'll mix in all of your colors, and we're not wanting to do that yet. You're just trying to mix in the little bit of soap with the acrylic paint. Okay, now I can take my paper towel, wipe that off, and I can come into my next color, which is the green. And again, I'm just trying to mix in that little bit of soap in with my green. And if in doing so, a little bit of the green gets into the yellow, that's really okay. So I'm just like pushing from the outside till the soap gets mixed in. Then I'm going to come over here, going to wipe off my stick, and I'm going to stir my soap and my blue acrylic. So I'm thinning that acrylic paint, but instead of thinning it using water, I'm using soap, which is already viscous. Okay, and then I'm gonna wipe that off, and I'm gonna put it to the side. Okay, so this is so fun. Now, instead of using a brush, I am going to, you can see kind of what I'm looking for, what I'm shooting for. I'm going to be using a string to make my leaves. And I'm going to take my string, and I'm going to take my wooden stick and move this so that you can see it. I'm going to take my string, and I'm going to start by just laying my string down. The end of my string is in the yellow, and then it's going to come across the green, and it's going to come across the blue. And since my string is longer than my 3 colors, I'm going to fold my string and have it come across the blue and back across the green. And then I'm going to loop it so that some of the string goes into the yellow, and then it comes across again, like so. And I'm just using my wooden stick to press down into the paint to make sure that I get lots of paint on my string. And I'm weaving it back and forth through the 3 different colors that I have. And it's okay if like a little bit of the green or the blue on your stick gets on into the yellow, that's okay. Now don't let go of this end. Hold on to that end and don't get a bunch of paint on the very end. But you do want to make sure that the string is well covered. So I'm just going to kind of scoop some extra paint onto the string. So there's lots of paint on that string, except for at the very end. Okay? All right, now the fun part. Keep a hold of the end of the string and pull it up straight above your bowl. And you will see that it has multiple colors on it. And then as you get to the end of the string, you can even use like your little wooden stick to kind of help you pick it up. Right, so it has a bit of a rainbow of colors on it. I'm going to push this over here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring our string over to our canvas, and we're going to lay it down so that it curves back and forth on our canvas like this. And you can use, I'm just lowering my left hand and using my hand to help guide the string, but then I'm also using my stick to help me get it in this S curve, snake curve back and forth. Now I want to make sure that that it has good adhesion to my paint surface. So I'm going to go ahead and dab. I'm just using my stick and just dabbing like so to make sure that my string is really sticking. And now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to zoom in because this is so fun. It's very satisfying. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to move this up so you can see. Move this out of the way. So many things to think about. So now this is called a string pull. So I have paint on my string and I'm going to gently pull it so that it comes off of my canvas. And it is going to create a unique, interesting, abstract design. So here I go, and I'm going to go slowly, and I'm going to keep one hand on my string and one hand on my stick so that I can have my stick help me if I want to make any adjustments. Do you see how the paint is pulling? And so I'm just gently pulling. In fact, I'm going to use this stick to help me pull. Isn't that so cool? I love this. The paint on the string is being pulled down and off of my painting. Oh my gosh, it's so satisfying. Look at that. Isn't that neat? And since you kind of made it in this snake shape, then it has this really cool abstract fan quality. Look at that. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. You guys, I did not expect it to turn out that pretty. I almost just want to leave it just like this. It's really pretty. Okay. So now you can take your string and just put it off to the side. You can put it into your bowl. Gosh, I just really like it, just exactly like that. Do I add flowers or do I leave it as it is? Sure, I'll add flowers. Come over here so that you can see my paint. I'm going to wipe off. This is so great. We're not even using brushes, so you don't have to worry about like cleaning brushes or anything like that. Okay, I'm just wiping that off because I'm going to use it again. I'm going to take my Blick Red and I'm going to give myself a squeeze. It's just about the same amount of paint, about the same size as the top of your bottle of paint. Instead of using a brush, I'm going to just be using my my little stick. I'm going to add a little bit of soap. It'll help me extend the paint. I'm going to mix it in. And since I want my red to be really bright, I am going to really work to keep from getting any other colors into it. So that little bit of blue, if I get that mixed in, then it's going to end up making my red purple, and I don't think I want that. I just want red. Now, instead of using a brush to apply the flowers, I'm going to just dab, scoop and dab in order to make my flowers. And I'm trying to think of the petal shapes. And so the shape of the petals that I'm going to be thinking of in my mind are going to have a center, and then they're going to loop out like a flower. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a dot. That's going to kind of help me know where my center is. And then instead of using a brush or anything like that, I'm just scooping and making leaf forms. And the nice thing about doing this is for a lot of reasons, by not using a brush, by just scooping, it kind of gives a little bit of an abstract nature to your flowers, which is very consistent with the abstract nature of the greenery or the leaves. So there's a little flower up there. I'm gonna do another flower. There's my center. And do another flower here. I don't mind it at all when some of the color that's behind it gets mixed in. I'm gonna try not to make it too blobby. So I kind of want it to read like flowers. So that one kind of ended up a little bit blobby. I wonder if I can fix that. I'm gonna kind of wipe off this red and then like maybe drag this in a little bit. Oh, that worked pretty well. These are definitely abstract, and that's kind of the beauty of it. I'm gonna put another one here. I have my center, and then I have 4 petals that are coming out like a pinwheel. Ooh, I really like how the color mixes here. And I really like how you can kind of see underneath that little bit of green over there. So you can kind of play around until you feel good about it. And I think I always like to have like a little asymmetry, a little weight on one side. Maybe there's a little bud up here. So you can kind of just make like a football shape. And there's a little abstract bud. Maybe there's, do I want another? Maybe there's 2 buds. And yeah, maybe that's enough. Okay, so now I'm wiping off my tongue depressor. I'm gonna pick up some blue and I'm gonna dab that into my centers so that I help define the centers. Of my flowers. And then I might take just a dab of green, and like here where we have the little buds, I might pull that down into my painting. Something like that. So it's just a lovely little abstract set of flowers. I might come back in here and make this just a little bit bigger. I really like how these petals are going off of the canvas. It's like the flowers are just too big to be contained. There it is. It's just a lovely little abstract floral arrangement. And you didn't even need to have a brush. Great job, guys. I hope you had a great time.